today, we're going to be talking about the warning signs that there might be a narcissist lurking in your life. If you're like most people, you enter into relationships thinking that the person that you're talking to is on the up and up, that it is not their intention to hurt you. It is not their intention to make you wrong at every turn. It is not their intention to make you feel less than, to dominate you, to use you, to marginalize you, to use you as a source of narcissistic supply. If you're like most people, you don't enter into relationships thinking that. When you're dealing with a narcissist, you don't always know right away that you are. Narcissists can create blind spots. If you're in a romantic relationship with a narcissist, you might be thinking like, this is it. They're so perfect for you. They mirror everything that you are. So if you love animals, they love animals. If you believe in this charity, they believe in that charity. If you're a vegan, they're a vegan. And you don't realize that they are trying to mirror who you are to seduce you into trusting them. I think we can all agree that narcissism is not something, or narcissists are not always easy to spot. That we can be blindsided by a narcissist's sexuality, their ability to love bomb us, their ability to idealize and make us feel seen. And if you are someone who has struggled with feeling invisible, when you bump into a narcissist who is throwing bouquets of flowers at you and is laughing at all your jokes and gives you the sense that they really want to get to know you, you don't know that they're faking it. It's not even in your head that they're faking it. You're thinking that, finally, I've met someone who can see me. And doesn't that feel awesome? Of course it does. Oxytocin starts to flow, dopamine is flowing. Your brain is digging this. Like, wow, this girl, this guy is like into me. You don't realize what's coming down the pike is going to be pain. You assume that the person who's showing up is always going to be this kind, considerate, thoughtful person. But in time, 6 months, 7 months, 8 months, 9 months, a year, eventually what you start to realize is the mask begins to slip. And in retrospect, it's when you begin to realize I was hit with these narcissistic traits. And now I understand why it is that I felt so off balance, why it is that I am so full of self-doubt, why it is that I can't think straight, why it is that I have night terrors, why it is that I'm jumping at every noise, why it is I don't know if I can trust the way that I think. And so I wanted to talk about the warning signs that you really need to pay attention to that are not always so obvious if you're trying to figure out if a narcissist is lurking in your life. You know, if you're not educated on this, which I think we all should be, because relationships are so important to us, we are, as human beings, we're social creatures. So it's natural for us to want to connect and want to bond. It's natural for us to want to love and to be loved in return. And so most of us are out there looking for relationships. And so learning about narcissism, learning about codependency, learning about how you show up first in a relationship is very telling and it's very empowering. For instance, if you identify as someone with high empathy, if you identify as someone who is always trying to help other people, if you identify as someone who is the first person up at a holiday dinner to help clear the table for the hostess, and you're at the kitchen sink and you're sweeping the floor and you're the last person to leave, you don't leave until that house is spotless, yet the guests have left hours ago. If you are the first person to make a cup of soup for someone and bring it over to them, if you are used to subjugating your needs, like the default is, what do you need? What does that other person need? What does she need? What does my neighbor need? If that's your default, then it's not natural for you to check in with yourself. It's not natural for you to ask, well, how do I feel today? You know, I know that Susie Q is sick, and I'm sorry she's sick, but I don't feel all that well either. So maybe I should make chicken soup for myself first, and make sure that I feel good first. And then if I have some soup left over, or if I want to make a batch of soup for Susie tomorrow when I feel better and I've taken care of myself, then I will do that. But if you have high codependent traits, if you're a fixer, an enabler, a people pleaser, if you naturally subjugate yourself for the needs of other people, if you feel that love is conditional, this is a big one, if you feel that you don't deserve love unless you've broken your back to get someone to love you, then you are going to be not only a target for someone with high narcissistic traits, you'll end up staying in a relationship with someone with high narcissistic traits because of the way that they're built, because of the way that they're wired. If you are someone who is other-focused, then you are going to attract, most likely, someone who is me-focused or self-focused. Two people, one relationship, two people focused on one person. You have to know that about yourself. You have to know that if you're a caretaker, if you're a people pleaser, if you're highly codependent, if you struggle with abandonment trauma, if you have low self-worth, if you struggle with, who am I? Who am I? What am I all about? What do I stand for? What do I believe in? What do I think? What do I feel? If you can't answer those questions, you might seek the safety and the familiar of a more codependent narcissistic relationship. Why? You're comfortable focusing on other people. You are not comfortable when this inner I turns to the self. You haven't figured out those pieces of the puzzle yet. And it can be destabilizing when you close yourself off from the outside world. You're not in a relationship that is chaotic and toxic, and now you just have to deal with you. That's where the rubber meets the road. That's where I freaked out the most. When I was in relationships with other people and I was fixing all these problems, I felt sane. I felt like, oh, I can do this. This feels right. I didn't realize that I was a fixer, a people pleaser, and an enabler and codependent. I didn't realize that in my childhood, I had learned that my love, or the getting love from the outside, was conditional. In other words, it was transactional. I had to do something in order to feel deserving of love. It's almost like I had to prove to you that I was worthy of you to hang out with me, which is so sad because at our core, we are nothing but light. You, me, everyone is divine. The problem is most of us are still asleep. The problem is most of us, our conscious mind has not been awakened to the truth. Our conscious mind is still stuck in the past, still stuck in the body, in the pain body, as Eckhart Tolle would say. Stuck in this reality of painful memories that trigger bodily sensations, and it becomes a hamster's wheel. So learning about narcissism and codependency, if you stick with it long enough, you will discover that you're on the path to enlightenment. And I mean that seriously, like no joke, because codependency is living below the veil of consciousness. Narcissists are living below the veil of consciousness. When you're dealing with a narcissist, you're dealing with someone who is asleep. They are literally sleeping. They are people who have suffered attachment issues as children. They have been unable to secure healthy attachments to the parents in most cases. Or they are children who have been overindulged, never corrected, and taught that they were better than anyone else. These are people who come, for instance, you can come from a very wealthy family and be taught that people are below you and that you have a right to be mean to people. And there are actually studies out there that prove that people, just saying it like it is, the wealthier you are, sometimes the meaner you are. Now, I'm not saying everybody who's wealthy is mean. I'm just saying that they've done studies that are suggesting that people who are highly, highly wealthy treat people who they perceive as less wealthy, whether they know that for a fact or not, as less than. So I think what we have to teach really is awareness and empathy. We have to become more mindful of how our words, our feelings, and our actions, our deeds, how it affects other people. And how other people feel should matter. However, it has to start with us. However, you can be someone who has recovered from codependency, still hold on to your empathy for other people, But now recovery has allowed you to recoup a sense of self. If you struggle with codependency, this is an identity issue. It ends up being a behavioral issue which manifests in relationships. You end up attracting narcissistic people, people who are highly toxic, and you don't leave. One of the trademarks of a codependent is a lack of boundaries. You know, you knock your head up against the wall, you're unhappy, you complain all the time in your marriage or your relationship, you think you know what's wrong, you go to your partner doesn't listen, they call you insensitive, they call you a drama queen, they accuse you of being insecure when you think that they're cheating on you, or you find texts on their phone that are suggestive and you're accused of being insecure, then you doubt yourself, you stay. Like, you don't set a healthy boundary around that, and you doubt your reality. Not only do you doubt your reality because you've been gaslit by a narcissist, but you doubt your reality because when you were a child, the outer world did not match the inner world. So maybe the outer world looked perfect, but inside you felt like you were a mess. Maybe you cried and your parents told you that you had no reason to cry. Maybe when you shared an emotion, you were gaslit by your parents. Maybe when you were upset, you were absolutely ignored, or worse, maybe you were hit. And so when this is your experience and you're an adult, then no, it's not easy for you to end a narcissistic relationship. It's not easy for you to identify the warning signs that there's a narcissist lurking in your life. You stay on these patterns. You just keep acquiescing. You just keep denying how you feel. You just keep making excuses. Your brain comes up with backwards rationalization because you don't know, you don't have the data for how to set a boundary and get out of there. You just keep doing what your mother did. Your mother stayed, so you stayed. This person that you love, that you've put your faith and trust in, tells you that you're crazy. You think maybe that you're crazy. You don't think that there's something wrong with being called crazy. You don't think that there's something wrong with someone who's supposed to love you, who calls you insecure all the time, even though you have hard evidence to prove that they're cheating on you. You don't recognize that the person who is rewriting history is wrong. You think it's you because you don't trust yourself and you have put all your faith into this other. You have been wired to worry about other. And I think a lot of us have a very naive attitude towards romantic relationships, in that we think that if we're naturally nice to someone else, then they'll actually be considerate of us back. But that doesn't happen. If you don't have boundaries, then people don't treat you well. It's only when you're able to say, this is who I am, this is what I think, this is what I feel, this is what I need, and this is what I believe, and you hold on to that. And you also have empathy for other people as well. You can't lose that component as a human being. It can't all be about you. That's what narcissism is. But when you're in a relationship with someone, you have to know who you are. And then you take the time to see if this person is who he or she says they are. And if you see that your kindness is being exploited, you need to set a boundary. I don't care if they're telling you that they were a nun and they donate all their time to charity. I don't care what words are coming out of this person's mouth. If this woman that you're dealing with does nothing but take, embarrasses you, blames you for everything, that means her actions don't match the words that are coming out of her mouth. There's a conflict there. Don't deny it. Don't deny it. Understand, look for these patterns and decide what you're going to do about these patterns that are showing up. That's why I think it's really important that whether you're codependent, you're a love addict, or you're just a healthy person that doesn't even have these issues, that you understand that relationships should take time to grow over time. You have to give this person the opportunity to present to you this idea, whether they are really congruent. You need time to figure out whether or not this person's actions are going to match their word. And if they don't match their word, then your life with this person is really going to be miserable. And you also always bring it back to the self, in that you have to make sure that you're showing up with integrity as well. You have to keep your word. You have to be considerate. If you're not into the relationship, don't pretend that you are. Tell the truth. Get out. Find a relationship that fits you better. If you're in a relationship with someone who you feel is manipulative, don't wait. Get out. Be honest, trust yourself, and move laterally. Don't keep going forward. Move laterally. Get out of the relationship and see what happens. If you're dealing with a narcissist, you're going to be blamed. You're going to receive ridiculous, vile texts. They are not going to take accountability for any part of the demise of the relationship. So expect them to rewrite history. Expect them to make things up, even. Expect them to possibly stalk you on social media. Expect them to talk poorly about you amongst your friends and on social media. If you're dealing with a narcissist, these are the types of things that show up. So let's talk about some of the telltale signs that there's a narcissist lurking in your life, because they're not always easy to spot. So I made a list. So if you're dealing with a narcissist, what you're going to notice is this person takes. This person doesn't offer to help. This person sits around and waits for everyone to cater to them. This person is not unfamiliar with expecting people to help them. So if you're dealing with a narcissist in your life, then in retrospect, or when you're gaining some objectivity, he or she is the person that feels entitled to have everyone worry about them, have everyone cater to them. They love being the absolute center of attention, whether it's positive or negative attention, whether they are the most beautiful thing in the room and they want you to pay attention to that. They want you to compliment them. Look at this, look at that. Did you know this one hit on me and that one hit on me and he wants to date me and she wishes she was my friend. And you'll actually see a narcissistic female, for instance, that I'm really trying to explain. When you're around this person, what you'll notice is she gets uncomfortable when you try to divert your attention to her children. She'll get uncomfortable when you start to talk to her husband. She'll get uncomfortable when you start to talk to her sister. She'll get uncomfortable, visibly uncomfortable, when your eyes start to go somewhere else. Because in her head, she's entitled to you, for you to see her as grandiose as she sees herself. And so there's this, she's very superficial and very worried about the way she looks. And what she wants is for you to mirror back this idea that she's amazingly beautiful. And if you can make her feel like you even think that she's more beautiful than you, home run as far as she's concerned. So if you have a narcissist in your life, this is someone who commands attention. This is someone who's very, very much into her looks. This is someone who will mock another female, if we're talking about a female narcissist. Very competitive. Again, you might not notice it in the beginning, but you will notice it over time. If you're dealing with a male narcissists can be very sexual also, very wrapped up in their looks. But in lots of cases, narcissistic men are really feeling grandiose and superior when it comes to what they do for a living. So it's not uncommon for narcissists to have high-powered jobs, CEOs of companies, men who have found themselves in very high positions and who want people to know that they are powerful people. So they name drop. They talk about, what company they put out of business with their new toy. They talk about how their company has been able to dominate and destroy other companies. They brag a lot. So if you have a narcissist in your life, whether it's female or male, you'll notice that they're braggadocious. Another sign is that we just alluded to it a little bit. So they lack empathy. There's someone in your life that's ill. They're not interested. They're not interested in you. They're not interested in what's going on in your life. They can fake and act like they are, but they're really not. There's usually a gain. They want something from you. But overall, in the long run, what you'll notice with the narcissist is that they're indifferent to you. You might think this person is your best friend on the face of the earth. And she may have been, or he may have been. Might be your best friend since you're 5 years old. But you may never have realized the relationship is one-sided. You may not realize that this person is always expecting you to run and take care of them and be there for them and talk to them when they need someone to talk to. But when you need to talk to them, they have no time for you. You buried your mom. They couldn't care less, right? They want to talk about their ingrown toenail, or they want to talk about how nasty the hairdresser was the last time that they went to get their hair done. So they're very superficial, and over time, what you'll notice is that there's a lack of empathy. They aren't giving to you. They aren't considerate of you. They're not attuned to your emotions. And so that's something that you will notice over time. Another thing is that you'll notice that they are entitled. So narcissists generally think that they're better than other people. So when it comes to the way they speak to other people, again, what you'll notice over time is that there's a need to put other people down. They feel entitled to cut people off at the grocery store. They feel entitled to cut people off when driving. They feel entitled to treat people poorly, people that may not have the ability to do anything for them. And so there's this idea that they are better than. Imagine that, thinking that because you have money or because you tend to be, in terms of what society calls beautiful, because you're thin or because you're fit or because you're beautiful, because you're handsome, because you're intelligent, because you have a PhD or whatever it is. Imagine really thinking that that makes you better than other people. It doesn't. Reality check, please. Boom. No one is better than anyone else in terms of worth. Could you be better skilled at one thing than another? Sure. But in terms of worth, no. No one is worthy more than someone else. No one is more worthy than someone else. Everyone is worthy of decent respect, of compassion, and of empathy. Every single person born. Now, in terms of material things, the way I look at it, if you're going to work hard at something and you want to gain something and attain something, you have every right in the world to have what you want if you're willing to work for it. That's amazing. But even if you're someone who has figured out how to work for something and gain a PhD, for instance, or gain a college degree and get a beautiful car, get a beautiful house, that doesn't make you better than anyone else. So it shouldn't be about the toys that you have. Toys don't make you more worthy than someone else. But there are people out there that really do think that is the case. They think that they are more special than other people. They have this attitude in their head that people want to be just like them, or why aren't people like me? Because I've got it all figured out. And so there is this sense of superiority, that they are grandiose, and they feel entitled to treat people poorly. Someone who is entitled will feel entitled to mock other people, take things from them, steal, lie, be in a coercive relationship, dominate you physically, mentally, and emotionally, and think nothing of it. They go into the grocery store, they steal. They go into the drugstore, they steal, right? They go into your closet and they steal. And then when you catch them, they lie. They say, I didn't steal that. I don't know what you're talking about, right? So they completely make up some story to avoid responsibility. So these are the ways that entitlement can show up. Another thing that they do is they marginalize. And so your feelings are never as important or as valid as their feelings. Your needs are never as important or as valid as their needs. If you have a narcissistic mom, for instance, and she wants to go out on the town and her daughter is sick, she will resent the child for being sick. She will berate the child for being sick. The child has made it difficult for her to go get her narcissistic supply from all the men that will be flocking to her because she's just so drop dead gorgeous, you know what I mean? And so this is how that will show up if your mother's a narcissist or if you have a friend who's a narcissist. She will lack compassion and lack empathy for her own child and marginalize her child's experience. If you have a friend who's narcissistic, then your successes tick them off. They'll have to marginalize you. They'll make up excuses for why you were able to get that promotion. If you're upset about a breakup, she'll turn around, she'll say, well, you know, this is your problem, this is what you attract, or you knew he was like that, why did you stay? Your feelings will be marginalized. If you want to talk to your wife, who you think has high narcissistic traits, she'll go into making fun of you. She will say that you're not a man. She will say that you're over-emotional, that you're too sensitive, that your feelings don't matter, that Tom, Dick, and Harry don't talk like this, why do you talk like this? You'll hear things like, well, if you were a real man, you would have done this. If you were a real man, you would do that. And so she's marginalizing you. So that's the way it shows up. This is a sign that there's a narcissist lurking in your life. Another thing that they do is They expect you to change your plans. Have you ever known someone who uses future faking? That's another sign that you have a narcissist in your life. Someone who says you're dating someone and he tells you that, oh, we're going to go look for a ring. And you go look for a ring, but he never buys the damn ring. Or, you know what, we're going to go on vacation. And you go to a travel agent, you do all this research online. You never go on vacation. Oh, we're going to buy a house together one day, and you should go check out the neighborhood you want to live in. And let's go to a couple of open houses. You never buy a damn house with this person. This happens. Narcissists say things like, oh, our children are going to be so cute. I can't wait to buy them little Timberlands and all this stuff. And they're going to be the cutest little kids on the block. It never happens. You never have a child with this person. Thank goodness, because you shouldn't. And if you did, you're going to have to learn to co-parent with a narcissist. It's not easy, but it is possible. But I digress. If you're dealing with a narcissist in your life, then yeah, they're going to expect you to change your plans, and they don't care. If you ask the narcissist to be at your house at 5, they show up at 6. You have people waiting, dinner guests waiting, and they're like, well, you know I'm always late. Why didn't you tell me to come at 4 if you wanted me to come at 5? No, we said 5. We agreed on 5. What are you talking about? That is a narcissistic statement. You have somebody who absolutely doesn't care about what comes out of their mouth. And so that goes along with future faking. This is somebody who is making promises and they don't keep them. Somebody who makes a promise to create a plan with you and they change the plan. Someone who you say you've been planning 2 weeks to go out to at the theater to see this play. You bought the tickets. The narcissist says they're going to pay you. They never pay you. And last minute, oh, I'm sorry, I can't make it. You find out the next day that they got a better offer. They cannot honor their word. They're constantly shifting. It's like whatever is happening in the moment will decide their next action. So they have no accountability when it comes to making you a promise. They don't care. They're giant 2-year-olds, right? If you tell a 2-year-old, if you make a plan with a 2-year-old to sit there and wait for you because you're going to go to the candy store at 2 o'clock, as if a child would know that it's 2 o'clock, but just follow me. And then somebody walks past this 2-year-old with a little puppy. That 2-year-old is not waiting for you to show up to take them to the candy store. That 2-year-old wants to go play with the puppy. So it's very by the moment with a narcissist. They don't honor their word. And so they very easily change the plans. And they do not care. Now, there are times in our life where we need to change plans. It happens. If you're someone who's got a lot going on, then from time to time, plans are going to change. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about a specific pattern with someone that you know very well, someone who has been in your life, that you've had a relationship with, and you're beginning to put the pieces of the puzzle together. You're strung out emotionally. You can't take it anymore. You don't know exactly what's going on. You've been gaslit. You've been marginalized. Your partner, your best friend lacks empathy for you. Your coworker always wants to be the center of attention. Your coworker is gaslighting you. Your coworker is sabotaging your desk. You can't get the information from your coworker to finish a project. You have a narcissist lurking in your life. And narcissists are all about one-upmanship. A narcissist is about crazy-making communication. If you are dealing with a narcissist in your life, you'll notice that the narcissist must maintain control over whatever experience they're experiencing. It's very difficult. Actually, it's impossible for them to be humbled. I have found that if you really want to heal in life, there's going to be many, many times in your life where you're going to have to say, I'm sorry, because you're going to make mistakes as a human being. So humility is a part of the human growth experience, because you're going to have to learn how to transcend your ego, which is all reactive. Ego is all me, 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 me. Ego is about being dominant. Ego is about avoiding wounds. And so when you're on the recovery path, the goal is really to transcend ego. So you're going to have to say, I'm sorry. You're going to have to humble yourself in certain situations and say, you know what? I was really being one-sided here, and I really didn't understand what this was doing to you. This is how healthy people speak. It's important to remember, none of us come out of the womb knowing what the heck we're doing. We rely very heavily, completely on our parents, and we are being brainwashed up until about the age of 7 to believe whatever our parents believe. And so we're going to make mistakes. We're going to be more narcissistic on one day, maybe more codependent the next day, maybe highly empathic the next day, and maybe completely withdrawn the next day. Maybe we're not going to be able to talk at all. Maybe we need to regroup. So we're going to ebb and flow and go up and down, be light and be dark. If you're a healthy person, you're aware that you can be all of these things, but you have a desire to be more middle of the road. You have a desire to be fair. You have the ability to see the big picture. People with high emotional intelligence understand the group. They understand the we. People who are narcissistic, they understand the I. They're not interested in bringing people together. They're not interested in listening to what other people have to say and saying, wow, I'm really interested in your input. I was wrong here. Or this input that you've given me has really, really helped me see a bigger picture. Thank you. When you're saying something like that, you're recognizing that you are not better than the person you're talking to. You're never going to be able to really be 50-50 partners with this person. And it's the same thing in a marriage situation. When you're married to a narcissist, the general feeling is they're in control. You work for them. You are subordinate to them. That's generally the feeling you get when you are in a relationship with a narcissist. Narcissists want to remain the center of your world. A narcissist feels best when you see them as grandiose, when you reinforce this idea that they're smarter than you, that they're better than you, and that your job is to cater to them. That's really the most comfortable spot for a narcissist. A narcissist is not going to say, I'm sorry. A narcissist is not going to take accountability. And over time, if you're in a relationship with a narcissist, you might end up feeling extremely drained, extremely confused. You're going to doubt your reality. In my situation, I heard it over and over again. You're crazy. No one thinks like you. You're a negative thinker. You're too sensitive. I can never talk to you. I don't like talking to you. No one likes talking to you. I heard this over and over and over and over. And it really caused me to feel crippled on the inside. I was afraid to open my mouth. And that really was the whole goal. The goal was to incapacitate me on the inside. And that served a bunch of purposes. This person got to be more dominant than me. This person got me to fear opposing him. This person got me to feel like I was humiliated and that I should be afraid of him opening his mouth and talking to people about me. I understood his narrative. It was negative about me. And so all of this gaslighting and all this marginalization, this lack of empathy, worked to keep this person, up on this pedestal while I continued to implode little by little by little. My anxiety went through the roof. I had no idea whether I was coming or going. And it took me a long time to understand what was really going on. And if I had had this information, if I had known about codependency, if I had known about the warning signs, what to look out for, if I had known, can I get an amen? If I had known that my feelings mattered. Can you believe that? Your feelings matter. How people make you feel matters. Now, some people will say, oh, no one can make you feel anyway. That's a little tricky for me. What I'm talking about is if I'm living with someone who I feel irritated, annoyed, frustrated, angered by, demoralized by, marginalized by, I am chastised by, if I feel like who I am is insignificant, if I feel like my partner treats me with indifference, if I feel like my partner uses very aggressive words, even if he never raises his hand, if his language is abrasive, if he is being passive aggressive, if he uses innuendos to make me feel less than, and question myself and question at the state of our marriage or our relationship, I'm going to feel very negative. That matters. The energy that this person is giving off that I am now receiving and deciphering as a negative energy matters. So that's what I mean when I say how I feel matters. How you feel matters. How people treat you and how that ends up making you feel matters. It all matters. Now, when you come from a difficult home, a dysfunctional home, you may have been brainwashed to think that your feelings don't matter. Great. So now you're out and about and you attract someone in your life that love bombs you, hoovers you in, makes you think that, you're so important to them. And in 6 or 7 months, maybe even sooner, after you marry them, the mask slips and all of a sudden they're raging. They're yelling at you, they're screaming at you, they're telling you you're crazy, that you make no sense, you're stupid, I don't even know why I married you, everyone told me not to marry you, my mother told me not to marry you, my friends told, and you're like, what just happened? Okay, we went from having a fairy tale life to like, what? What happened? Right? If this is your reality and you came from a dysfunctional home, no, dear one, it's not going to be easy for you to set a boundary. You're going to think it's you. So the reason and maybe even why some other people make videos like this, is to really help raise your awareness around this idea that your feelings matter, that what you feel matters, and that if you're in a toxic relationship, you need to identify that. And what it's all going to come down to is you, meaning you have to know your personality traits, you have to know your characteristics, you have to know what your flaws are. You have to know if it's difficult for you to set a boundary. You have to know if you give and give and give and give and give and expect nothing in return. You have to know if you're a man and you fall for pretty women who are abusive, you have to know that. If you're a female and you fall for the guy that has a silver tongue and tells you what you want to hear, you have to know that. If you're codependent because your mother was an alcoholic, you have to know that. If you are so lonely that you tend to not vet relationships, you need to know that. You need to know this about yourself. Because if you know this about yourself, you can stop the madness. You can start working on yourself. You can go back to childhood. You could fix what was wrong. You can heal from abandonment trauma. You can learn about who you are. Codependent recovery absolutely saved my life. And if you are struggling with codependency and you tend to attract narcissistic people and you need to regroup, you need to find your balance again, I really do encourage you to learn everything that you can about being raised in a toxic home, what it means to be the adult child of an alcoholic, and how codependency might be showing up in your life. My name is Lisa A. Romano. I'm the Breakthrough Life Coach, and if you'd like to learn more about codependent recovery, please check out the 12-week Breakthrough Coaching Program. I have 2 versions of the program for sale right now. I have an on-demand version that we're offering at 50% off, and you can start that today, or you can wait to have a live class with me and my life coaches. If you'd like to join my Breakthrough Warrior membership site, and you can cancel anytime, you can do that by going to www.lisaaromano.com. And if you'd like to listen to one of my books for free, go to audible.com. Namaste, everybody. Until next time. And when you're out and about, don't forget to think. Bye for now. If you love this content, check out the next video, and don't forget to click the link below so you can take the codependency quiz. You're dealing with a narcissist feels entitled to exploit the vulnerabilities of other people. When it comes to feeling vulnerable, a narcissist despises the idea of feeling vulnerable. And that's why, in my opinion, what I've noticed in my life professionally as well as personally is that narcissists have this eat or be eaten attitude.